Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hi, this is Steve Shebuski of Blue Horseshoe, and you're listening to the New Warehouse Podcast. Here is today's safety tip of the day. From my own experience and just something that's near and dear to my heart is just everybody taking responsibility for having understanding and training and capabilities around AED and CPR in every building, whether it's a warehouse or anywhere folks congregate, be a part of the solution there.
How do you create warehouse superheroes? The answer is simple. With visual voice scan solutions from ProCensus. With record demand and labor shortages, warehouses need more effective workers and lightning fast onboarding. Visual voice scan solutions from ProCensus enable warehouse workers to achieve superhero performance with up to 20% improved productivity and up to 99% accuracy. Hands-free barcode scanners from ProGlove paired with wearable mobile computers is just the beginning. Improved mobile interfaces with reduced keystrokes, easy-to-read screens, custom keyboards, voice-enabled interface, and more can be realized with ease on the leading WMS platforms. Sound too good to be true? Let us show you with our one-of-a-kind virtual demo. Visit ProCensus.com to get started today. Again, that's ProCensus.com to get started. With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. On today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Steve Shebuski, and he is the VP of Digital Strategy at Blue Horseshoe. He's going to tell us a little bit about Blue Horseshoe, what it is they do, and we're also going to talk about high automation solutions, how they can help increase warehouse safety, and we're also going to talk a little bit about how the time to realize the value of high automation implementations is decreasing, which I think is a pretty interesting thought. So we're going to get into that, but welcome Steve to the show. So Steve, how are you today?
Doing well. Yourself?
Doing pretty good. We were just talking, over here in the tropical storm remnants in New Jersey. So I'm dry right now. We'll see a little later tonight how it goes. But
good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you. So you work for Blue Horseshoe, which is an interesting name, of course, definitely. So why don't you tell us what is Blue Horseshoe? What is it that you guys do?
Sure. Yeah. So first, thanks for having me. Yeah, Blue Horseshoe, we're a systems integration firm. We've been around for a while, since 2002, and most of the folks here have got, kind of supply chain DNA. from all of their backgrounds and their past. So myself came out of college right in warehouse management software on the AS400. And so as a firm, we've kind of, grown from those roots and really now just, as a kind of a full enterprise system integrations firm, we have capabilities around, all sort of supply chain applications for everything from warehouse management, transportation management, order management, full enterprise solutions, analytics. We have a strategy division on network analysis, facility design, equipment design, automation, obviously, full hardware group. So incorporations of devices and things into your processes, not only like obviously in a facility, but also on trucks and in stores and cameras and cloud RFID and all those types of things. And then obviously things around, integrations, data analytics, all those types of things as well. So really kind of a full, full service suite around just folks that are moving goods in and out of buildings and, all the various capabilities that folks are looking for these days. We help folks implement those things in their businesses and in their buildings and, across their supply chain.
Interesting. And maybe I should have asked, what do you guys not do? Because it seems like you do pretty much everything. So definitely very interesting stuff. And, obviously very helpful as well, especially in the space that's growing in technology so much and out of necessity really to keep up with demand and the switches and kind of consumer behavior and all these ramp ups. So I'm curious, as you worked with Blue Horseshoe, what has been some, I guess, maybe a project or the most interesting kind of projects that kind of stand out to you?
Yeah, I think there's just been, all kinds of different things over the last, 5 or 6 years. I think, when you look at the warehouse specifically, around, new buildings and just the ability to work with companies that are really investing in high automation types of facilities, DCs, lights out DCs, those types of things are pretty exciting from that perspective. So we've got a few projects, things like food and beverage specifically where, a lot of, high automation investment, ASRS million case sort of, automation, visual sort of automation. So, trying to improve accuracy through things like, taking pictures of the cases and making sure that the right stuff's going out and those types of things. Just traditional things, conveyors and sortation and things. So we've, all of that kind of stuff we've done in a number of places. We've, traditionally, 5 or 6 years ago in the U.S., it was less of that kind of investment. We saw it a lot in our Amsterdam office in Europe, with obviously constraints on space and things like that, more automation. But in the last, 3 or 4 years, we're seeing it across the board and just a lot of demand. So, those types of projects, are things that we get us pretty excited, helping folks achieve new levels of efficiency. I'd say the only other thing I'd love to mention is just it's also exciting to just kind of, dabble in some of the newer technologies. RFID has been around for a while, but RFID through the cloud is new, where there's just less infrastructure investment. So the ability to kind of invest in some newer technologies like drones for cycle counting and, being able to, use cameras in stores to trigger replenishment. Those types of automations are also kind of, new areas to get into that are also, obviously providing our customers a lot of value.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, obviously, I've seen it myself too, and, covering the industry and working in the industry as well. And just, the growth, like, as you mentioned, and just the kind of investment into these technologies and automations as well. But I guess recently, over the past year or so, there's this strange time that we've been living in, right? What really does it seem like your customers are like most asking for in terms of an automation perspective? Like, is there one type of solution they're really driving towards, or is it kind of across the board?
Yeah, I think there's some different things. I think, one area that I'm like, I think I'm actually, obviously kind of proud of here is that we've seen lately is around automation, to specific, not necessarily like high volume automation, but more just from an accessibility standpoint. So when you think about just automation and technology to help, those with some certain types of disabilities, sight impaired, folks, those kind of things, to be able to execute in the warehouse, we've actually seen a lot of folks investing in that. To really enable, more folks to do those types of jobs. So, we're helping companies that are looking to provide those types of capabilities. But to your point, I mean, obviously with COVID and things, and just the if you're not aware, I'm sure you will be soon. Just the strain on just having workers in general right now, and keeping folks employed, and in an environment that takes some training and capability. Certainly all those things are driving folks towards, looking at, abilities to have automation. Certainly that facilitates, the idea of the resilient supply chain, right? So, that you can withstand some of these things, through time. So, I think all of those things are kind of bringing that to the forefront. We see, folks wanting to kind of look at different things depending on if you're an e-commerce business, looking at the auto baggers. We see that a lot. Obviously, voice solutions is an easy entry point to look at, again, on this, to the, B2C type companies to try to create automation there. And then, some of our, larger producers, like I was talking about, beverage and food, and folks, looking at those, high volume pallet ASRS, and shuttle sort of systems, moving goods around quickly. We see that a lot as well. So those are the things that we've kind of, seen the most in the last couple, 24 months.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, I guess, to see, like you were saying before, the evolution and kind of now the investment in different automation solutions, and now these like high automation solutions as well. And, you mentioned that kind of word in there, high automation, a couple times. So, I guess first let's start with high automation. When you say high automation solutions, what do you mean in that sense?
I mean, so those types of solutions are, we're talking about just, things that, that are running, lights out. So we have, customers that, that are, taking orders through order management all the way through sort of a case, leaving the picking area onto the back of a truck, not touching human hands. And so that's, those types of solutions are obviously specifically designed for, very specific order profiles, SKU profiles, and customer fulfillment profiles. But certainly when you have that sort of targeted fulfillment strategy, you can, design some of these automation solutions that can kind of, just, work without, just end to end with all sort of, optimization solutions and robotics and everything else to get to, those types of efficiencies. So, those are the types of things we're seeing. We're seeing a lot more in the areas of ATVs as well, and really kind of, moving goods. And a lot of that has to do with the safety aspects and things, right? When I remember when I was doing WMS implementations, we were all highly trained to look out for fork trucks zipping around, warehouses. And certainly, there's been a lot of investment to control the high cost of injury and safety things around those pieces. So we see a lot of investment in those areas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess let's talk a little bit more about the safety aspect, because, you mentioned obviously, you get used to, I guess, in a sense. So you're working around warehouses, these forklifts moving around, and they're being operated by humans. And, as humans, we're unreliable, right? We're kind of terrible sometimes. So, and, we may do the wrong thing. We may not notice things. So I mean, how are these, I guess, high automation solutions, how are they kind of helping to increase the warehouse safety overall.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
When you go into these types of environments, we're asking human beings to do very repetitive and types of tasks, whether it's doing driving pallets and putting them away in racks, or picking, or working at a packing station, or whatever it is, those types of things. It's the orders keep coming, and you kind of folks are typically highly organized into different areas and doing specific jobs. And so anytime you're doing things that are highly repetitive, you feel comfortable, and you run the risk of not being alert, and that's when accidents happen. And so that's probably the number one, I would say, if you look at the research out there, it's the number one cause of safety issues, is just they're accidents that are that are easily prevented, but it's because folks get comfortable in these types of jobs. And so that's right. Probably the number one target for a lot of the automation solutions, is trying to look at those specific processes and jobs that are highly repetitive, and try to replace those with automation, and create opportunities for human beings around things that are more strategic, and helping elevate those folks more into studying the impacts of other things. I think on the other side of things, one of the things that's been really interesting on the other side of automation is just that we've seen lately, or that folks are kind of concerned about, is, all the cyber threats and things. That's on in the total other side of things. It's like, look at, a lot of the businesses in the last 6 months, and you think about, we were just talking about resilient supply chain. Well, if you have everything operated through systems and things, and that gets taken over, then your business shuts down, and there would be an argument for manual labor being more resilient. So, it's obviously a balance, right? There's folks just looking to create some of those balances. We've had customers, that invest in highly automated solutions around pallet movement, and then, COVID hits, and maybe you were shipping full pallets to Walmart, and then tomorrow you've got to break cases to ship direct to consumer. And if you don't have a way to do that because you're constrained by your automated solutions, and you can't be flexible, that certainly creates some problems to be able to be flexible in how you execute if your order profile, your SKU profile changes on a dime. So we see folks kind of looking at all of those things and deciding how to incrementally invest in automation. And like you said earlier, safety is always a number one concern. That's where the biggest spend is. So looking at automating some of those tasks, but obviously, just going to totally lights out building is also has, some downsides in our environment these days as well. Right. So,
right. Yeah. You can never win, right?
Never went, yeah. It's a whatever you call it, a pendulum, or it's always swinging back and forth, right? You always try to find, and it'll probably, there's always going to be some balance there from our perspective.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I think, in the beginning there, you talked about somewhat of the complacency of operators and things like that. So it's good to be able to, not only use the automation to get rid of some of that potential complacency and, the mundaneness of doing the same thing over and over again, which can lead to accidents and things of that nature, but then also enable the workers to, I guess, have more assistance in what they're doing on some of the things and some of the tasks, like moving pallets and things like that can cause potential more risk and more accidents. So definitely a balance, as you mentioned, and it, obviously is always changes, and there's always things kind of like, keeping people from potentially going in one direction, whether it's automation or staying manual. But I'm curious from your perspective, and I guess, dealing with customers, and I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of customers who are kind of for the first time investing in some automation. So what are some typical reasons, or I guess you think things that are holding people back from wanting to invest in automation, or keeping them hesitant to start this automation journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just a couple of things I've already mentioned, but I guess, there's a couple of things. Obviously, there's for some of these systems and things, there's a decent cost of entry, right, in terms of capital investment and things. And so certainly that can be a prohibitor in certain terms. I think another thing that that is changing, but is certainly been an issue for some folks in the past, is just, the ability for systems to connect and communicate easily. So, back, if you're kind of running on older technology systems, mainframe types of things in your warehouses, your enterprise system, connecting these various systems in what needs to be near, like, almost real time, can be very challenging, almost as much investment as the actual equipment itself, right? So I think, part of it too is really just the digital transformation of the applications and the infrastructure, all the systems, whether it's the WMSs, the TMSs, the order management systems, your PLCs, whatever it is, your warehouse control systems, all these things have to be able to connect, share information quickly, be highly, open frameworks and things like that, to be able to get speed to value quickly. And that's what people are looking for. So as we've seen the evolution of these applications into, cloud technologies and modern platforms, certainly that's also lowered the cost of entry on a lot of these applications, especially like things like voice, where you're looking at, some of the new Android devices and headphone sets and things. You don't have to get these big monolithic sort of server solutions that are high cost of entry. The devices themselves are really allowing folks to get in there. So I guess, there's, cost is always a thing, but what we are seeing is just technology itself is helping sort of reduce some of those barriers, and hence the, like we've been talking about, a lot of the increased demand and excitement around, installing some of these different types of capabilities.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's, it's interesting to see the different ways that you can kind of, on an automation journey, like as you're mentioning in there, like just getting involved in certain devices and things like that is gets you on the way to being more optimized. And, I think sometimes maybe companies are not realizing that they could start smaller than bigger. They're just thinking like, oh my God,
Kevin,
I'm just going to get a robot right away. No way. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good point. Like, you make a good point there. It's such a, with new technologies and capabilities, it can be, we always say it can be more incremental, right? Yeah. You don't have to do you don't have to bake the whole cake at once, and it doesn't have to take 2 years to get it all planned out. You can kind of attack certain business process level, really, attack a certain process with, like you said, specific device or capabilities, and really build out a journey. So that too is due to advances in technology and being able to connect various capabilities, and it's like kind of putting the parts together, right? Which is makes it it doesn't have that, you don't have to have one system be able to do everything for you. It's really, you're able to connect a lot of different types of technologies now, which certainly opens the doors to a lot of capabilities.
Right. Yeah. So I think the hesitation doesn't necessarily need to be there. I mean, like you said, there's smaller points of entry, and you can grow and become incremental. And I love that you said that you don't have to bake the cake all at once. I'm a big fan of cake, so I like that you threw that in there.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, yeah. So now the other thing too is, I mean, So there's a certain, I guess, value, right, that can be derived from implementing automation as well. You have, while it's maybe, high upfront cost in some aspects, there's like long-term value and savings that the company can see. And also some of the other factors that are at play, whether it's, having a difficult time finding labor to keep up with demand and those types of things. But there's, I guess, a time where the realizing this value is kind of decreasing. Is that correct? And why is that? What's driving that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a lot of the things that we're talking about. I think the cost of some of these devices and things has been, decreasing the ability to sort of target, a specific line for automation versus an entire facility. Certainly has created some opportunity. So there's those types of things. I think, I guess, measuring ROIs, some of it's, very hard numbers where you're, right, hey, we can reduce specific labor and the costs are kind of, a relatively straightforward math equation. I think there's things too that are, that are really important to folks now in terms of customer service and accuracy and some of those types of things too that are harder to measure. Like, what is the cost of acquiring, if you're in the B2C business, acquiring a new customer, and if you don't deliver on time and accurately, what's the cost of losing a customer and trying to acquire a new one to replace that customer? Those are things that are harder to calculate, right? And so when you talk about some of these automation solutions that are helping folks improve accuracy, improve customer service, order accuracy and throughput, and meeting customer deadlines or expectations, if you will, of delivery and things of that nature, those are really hard to measure, right, in terms of the value. So I think I think folks are realizing that too, in a new sort of environment where everybody, when you order something, no matter where you order it, you expect it immediately. Customer service, order accuracy, and the ability to deliver is just as important, as just traditional throughput and things. So just those are also things that we're seeing folks invest in too. Is just not just the throughput and things, but also just the making sure things are accurate and we're prioritizing the right order at the right time.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that's a really key point, because it's one thing to have, I guess, quote unquote, productivity, but it's another thing to have accurate productivity, right? And meaningful productivity. Because if you're looking at, and working as a warehouse manager, I tell my employees this all the time, is you could pick thousands of lines an hour for me, but if they're the wrong product, then it doesn't even matter. It's like you didn't even pick it, or ship it, right? So the customer doesn't.
Yeah, that's what you said. Meaningful too. It's like if you did that same thing you just said, and you're working on orders that are due 6 hours from now, and you've got a truck leaving for your retail stores in 40 minutes, and things are coming in real time, being able to just analyze those things quickly and change direction in terms of what you're fulfilling when. Those types of automated solutions can make those kinds of decisions for you more quickly and really execute on your strategy, your prioritization, which again is just hard to measure in terms of the value it's going to provide the business, but we all know it's there.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's a really good point. And, these types of solutions, I think some companies, they probably don't realize that, we're talking about automation solutions, it's not just about like putting robots in there. It's not just about like throwing a bunch of conveyor in there or stuff like that. There's all these other in-betweens that help you run the operation more efficiently, depending on what systems you're using and how the systems communicate, and utilizing like AI and machine learning and all these different types of things. There's so many different levels now to the automation side of things that you really got to kind of dig deep and look at I think, what are some of your biggest issues, and how do you tackle those piece by piece, as we said before, and I like that you said, to create the automation journey. I think that's a really good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The example I always like to use with just folks I'm helping just envision what this is like, just imagine December 23rd, and, you're the toy company, and orders are coming in from all across the country.
Yeah.
For the 5 hot toys. How do I prioritize those orders when they're all coming in real time to get them in there, to get them delivered before the next 2 days? Well, you have to be really smart about not only your transportation solutions and time to delivery, the types of products that are being ordered. Can we batch some of these things together? Are they singles? Like, analyzing all those things before you execute, and then execute in a highly automated fashion. Those are really important things as well. So like you said, meaningful productivity is as important as the conveyors and the throughput and the robots, right? So
Yeah, without a doubt. Really, really great points, and really, really interesting insights on the automation side of things, and kind of breaking it down here on what different levels you can really start at, and the impacts that those will have. So I really appreciate you coming on, Steve, and talking about these things, and really, really interesting. And I love that you guys cover so many aspects as Blue Horseshoe. So very interesting stuff. So if listeners are interested in learning more about Blue Horseshoe, how can they do that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The easiest way is to get out to www.bhsolutions.com and check out our website. A lot of the solutions and capabilities are listed in various areas there, and leave some information or download some of our white papers and get in contact. We'd love to have a chat with folks about how we might be able to help incrementally provide some value to the business. So thanks for asking.
All right, great. And we'll put all that information on the newwarehouse.com as well, so people can easily find it. So Steve, thank you once again for your time on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.